In 1925, a woman walked into Jung's Zürich practice after 12 years of failed attempts at finding love. Beautiful, accomplished, emotionally aware, she'd done therapy, read every relationship book, knew all her patterns. But every promising connection ended the same way. She'd push them away or choose someone unavailable. Jung, who'd spent decades studying why self-aware people still can't sustain love, told her something that changed everything. You're not broken, you're not unlucky, you're incomplete, and the universe won't send you real love until you complete specific psychological work. Because if love arrived now, you'd destroy it with the very patterns you haven't integrated. If you've been ready for love for years, if you know your worth but still can't find partnership, if every relationship ends with the same pattern, you haven't completed what I call the integration work, and without it, the right person can't recognize you, even if they're standing right in front of you. Jung identified 5 specific phases of psychological work that must happen before genuine love becomes possible, and this woman's 18-month journey reveals exactly why most people never complete them. The woman, let's call her Elisabeth, sat across from Jung with a confession that would become the foundation of his work on love and individuation. I've been single for 12 years, not because I haven't tried. I've tried everything. Therapy to heal my childhood wounds, journaling to understand my patterns, dating to put myself out there. But every time I meet someone promising, the same thing happens. Jung leaned forward. Tell me, if they're emotionally available, I feel suffocated. I find flaws, create distance, convince myself they're not right. But if they're unavailable, married, emotionally distant, clearly wrong for me, I become obsessed. I chase. I convince myself I can fix them, or that they'll change for me. She looked at Jung, tears forming. What's wrong with me? Why can't I want what's good for me? Nothing is wrong with you. You're being broken, and this breaking is necessary before you can be blessed with real love. This is what I call the separation from false self, the first phase of integration work. Not mystical separation from collective unconscious, but concrete. Your psyche forcing you to confront the difference between who you've been performing and who you actually are. Elisabeth had built an entire identity around being ready for love. She'd done the therapy. She'd healed her trauma. She presented as emotionally mature, self-aware, relationship-ready. And she was, on the surface. But Jung saw what Elisabeth couldn't. Her readiness was a performance. A false self constructed to be acceptable, lovable, worthy. Underneath this performance lived the real Elisabeth, terrified of vulnerability, convinced she was fundamentally unlovable, protecting herself through perfectionism. The universe breaks you by making your false self stop working. You've built this wonderful persona of the healed, ready woman, but it's not attracting love because it's not real. Real love can only connect with real self, not with performance. Modern attachment research confirms this observation. Dr. Sue Johnson's work on emotionally focused therapy shows that people with anxious avoidant attachment patterns, like Elisabeth, present as relationship-ready while unconsciously choosing partners who confirm their deepest fear, that they're unlovable. Studies on self-concept in relationships by Dr. Kristin Neff reveal that people who've done extensive self-improvement work often build what she calls contingent self-worth, value dependent on being perfect, healed, ready. This contingent worth is just another defense mechanism. Elisabeth experienced this breaking as complete confusion. She'd done everything right. Why wasn't it working? Because you've been doing the work to become lovable. The real work is recognizing you already are, not the performed version of you, the actual, messy, imperfect you. This phase manifests in specific ways. You attract the same pattern repeatedly until you're forced to admit it's not about finding the right person. It's about confronting why you choose wrong people. Elisabeth had dated 7 unavailable men in 12 years. 7. The universe wasn't testing her. It was showing her the pattern she refused to see. The loneliness intensifies specifically when you should be ready. Elisabeth felt most alone after completing therapy, after doing the work, because the false self expects a reward for healing. But there is no reward for performance, only recognition. When you stop performing, you experience what feels like sabotage, pushing away available people, chasing unavailable ones. This isn't self-sabotage. It's the psyche's refusal to let the false self claim a real relationship. In their 3rd session, Jung asked her to describe her ideal partner. She rattled off a list: emotionally available, communicative, stable, kind, sees me, wants partnership. Now tell me what terrifies you about that person. Elisabeth went silent. Then quietly, if someone actually saw me, not the version I present, but the real me, they'd leave. So I choose people who can't see me. It's safer. The breaking happens when this recognition can no longer be avoided. Your patterns aren't bad luck, they're protection, and they're keeping you from what you claim to want. The false self cannot sustain real love. That's why the universe breaks it, to reveal what's real beneath the performance. If you've been ready for love but still can't find it, comment, "I'm being broken," because recognizing the breaking is just the beginning. The 2nd phase reveals what you've been projecting onto every person you've ever loved. By their 4th month working together, Jung asked Elisabeth a question that would change how she saw every relationship she'd ever had. Tell me about every man you've been obsessed with. List their qualities. Elisabeth thought for a moment, then began. The last one was strong, decisive, unshakable. He knew exactly what he wanted and didn't apologize for it. When he walked into a room, everyone noticed. He had this presence. And before him, similar, incredibly independent, needed no one, had this emotional distance that felt like strength, certain about everything. And before that, the same pattern. All of them, strong, decisive, distant, independent, certain, present. Jung leaned forward. And how would you describe yourself? Elisabeth paused. The question landed like a punch. I'm uncertain. I second-guess everything. I apologize constantly. I make myself small in rooms. I struggle to know what I want. I'm terrified of needing people. She stopped. Her eyes widened. I'm attracted to my opposite. No, Jung said gently. You're attracted to your reflection. The strength, decisiveness, presence. Those aren't lacking in you. They're buried. And instead of integrating them, you project them onto men, then become obsessed with the projection. Elisabeth sat back, the realization spreading through her like cold water. She started listing every relationship, seeing it clearly now. The strong, decisive man reflected the strength she'd buried, because assertiveness was called aggressive. The emotionally distant man reflected her own terror of intimacy, which she couldn't admit, so she chose someone who maintained distance for her. The fiercely independent man reflected the independence she craved, but buried under being accommodating. I've never loved them, she said quietly. I've been loving parts of myself I wouldn't claim. This is the mirror phase, recognizing that your attractions aren't about the other person. They're about encountering the disowned parts of yourself. Research on projection in relationships shows that we're attracted to people who reflect our imago, the composite image of our caregiver's traits and our own disowned qualities. We mistake this attraction for chemistry or fate when it's actually psychological recognition. Elisabeth continued her recognition. And every time I tried to change them, make them more available, more communicative, more vulnerable, I was trying to destroy the very qualities that attracted me, because those qualities were mine. I was trying to change them into me. The pattern was devastating in its clarity. She'd grown up in a family where feminine meant accommodating, soft, yielding. Assertiveness was called bossy. Decisiveness was unfeminine. Strength made you unlovable. So Elisabeth buried these qualities, convinced they'd make her unworthy. Then she projected them onto men. Anais Nin, the famous diarist, spent her life in this exact pattern. She married a stable, gentle banker, Hugo, while having passionate affairs with unavailable artists like Henry Miller. She wrote in her diary, "Hugo represents security, the world's approval, but I'm alive only with the unavailable ones." She never integrated both. She compartmentalized, marriage for security, affairs for aliveness. She never felt whole with anyone because she'd split herself between them. Over the following weeks, Elisabeth began the integration work Jung outlined. First, she identified exactly what she'd been projecting. She made a list: strength, decisiveness, emotional boundaries, independence, certainty, presence. Second, she wrote, "I am strong, I am decisive, I maintain healthy boundaries, I am independent, I am certain, I have presence." Each sentence felt like a lie. That's how she knew she'd found the disowned parts. Third, instead of seeking these qualities in men, she practiced embodying them herself, made strong decisions without apologizing, maintained her own boundaries instead of being attracted to distant men, trusted her own knowing instead of seeking certainty in others. This work was excruciating. If I become strong and decisive, will anyone love me? I feel like I have to choose, be myself or be loved. In session, Jung challenged this. That's the false choice the false self created. Real love is only possible when you're fully yourself. The performed, accommodating version of you attracts performed relationships. The real, integrated you attracts real love. By month 8, something shifted. I met someone interesting, kind, available, stable. And this time I wasn't obsessed. I didn't need him to complete me. I felt curious. Is this what it's supposed to feel like? Jung smiled. When you stop projecting, you start seeing. And what you're seeing is possibility, rather than completion. We project our disowned qualities onto others. Real love becomes possible only when we reclaim those projections and integrate them. If you've been attracted to the same unavailable pattern repeatedly, comment, "I'm seeing my projection." Because recognizing projection is crucial, but the third phase reveals why you sabotage love even after you understand your patterns. Month 9. Elisabeth walked into Jung's office, hands trembling. I met someone genuinely compatible, emotionally, available, interested, aligned with my values. For the first time in 12 years, there are no red flags, no distance, no unavailability. Jung waited. And all I feel is panic. I should be happy. This is what I've wanted for 12 years. But I'm finding reasons to end it. He texts too much. He's too eager. Something feels off, but I can't name what. Your shadow is rising, and it's fighting for its survival. This is the resistance phase, when your unconscious patterns fight back against change, not through obvious self-sabotage, but through subtle, justified resistance that feels like intuition. The shadow contains everything you've rejected about yourself. For Elisabeth, her shadow held her deep terror of being truly seen, her conviction that she was unlovable, and her attachment to suffering as identity. Real love threatened to destroy these carefully constructed defenses. So the shadow fought back. Neuroscience explains why. Our nervous system identifies safety based on familiarity, not actual safety. Elisabeth's nervous system had been conditioned to recognize unavailability as safe and availability as dangerous. When she met someone available, her body interpreted this as threat, anxiety, hypervigilance, the urge to flee, all masquerading as something feels off. Jung made her examine her justifications. He texts too much. What are you actually afraid of? That if he keeps showing interest, I'll have to be vulnerable. And if I'm vulnerable, he'll see the real me and leave. He's too eager. What does that mean? He wants me, which means there must be something wrong with him. Anyone who truly wants me must be flawed. Something feels off. Is this feeling calm and clear, or urgent and panicked? Elisabeth admitted, urgent and, panicked. That's not intuition. That's fear disguised as wisdom. Real intuition feels calm and certain. Fear feels urgent and scattered. Sylvia Plath's journals reveal this exact pattern, choosing intensity over stability, believing chaos equaled love, mistaking anxiety for passion. The shadow's most sophisticated defense was using Elisabeth's self-awareness against her. I've done all this work. I know what healthy looks like, and this doesn't feel right, so I should trust my intuition. But it wasn't intuition. It was fear. Jung gave her the hardest practice. Stay anyway. When every instinct screams run, stay. Not forever. Just long enough to recognize that the fear won't kill you. Your shadow believes vulnerability equals annihilation. Prove it wrong by surviving it. Weeks passed. The panic continued, but Elisabeth stayed. During a moment of intimacy, she felt the familiar urge to pull away, create distance, find a flaw. This time, she stayed. Let him see her crying about something vulnerable. He didn't leave. He stayed. For the first time in 12 years, I felt safe. In session, Jung nodded. Your shadow just learned that vulnerability doesn't equal death. This is how integration happens. Not through understanding, but through embodied experience that proves the shadow wrong. Research shows that unconscious patterns change not through insight, but through visceral experiences that contradict the pattern's prediction. Elisabeth's shadow predicted, if he sees you crying, he'll leave. He stayed, pattern disrupted, but Jung warned, the shadow doesn't die from one experience. It will test you again. Each time, you must stay and prove it wrong again. The shadow believes vulnerability equals annihilation. That's why it sabotages love, to protect you from the vulnerability love requires. If you sabotage promising relationships for reasons you can't name, comment, my shadow is fighting. Because confronting the shadow is terrifying, but the fourth phase reveals the complete restructuring that must happen for love to finally take root. Month 12. I don't know who I am anymore. The old me, the one who chased unavailable men, who performed being healed, who needed to prove I was lovable. She's gone, but I don't know what's left. Jung smiled. Welcome to the restructuring. This is where real transformation begins. The individuation phase, becoming your authentic self. Not the self society constructed, not the self trauma created, not the self you perform for love. The actual self beneath all conditioning. For Elisabeth, this meant dismantling every identity she'd built over 38 years. She'd been the good daughter who accommodated everyone. That identity dissolved when she set a boundary with her family, said no to a visit, refused to manage her mother's emotions. Her mother called, shocked. You're so different now. Cold, distant. The old Elisabeth would have apologized, backpedaled, resumed accommodating. This Elisabeth said, I'm not cold, I'm boundaried. That feels cold because you're used to my compliance. She'd been the healed woman who'd done all the work. That identity dissolved when she admitted in session, I'm not healed, I'm still wounded, I'm still scared, I'm still imperfect, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. Good. Healing isn't becoming perfect, it's becoming real. You've just become more real. She'd been the accommodating partner in every relationship. That identity dissolved when she told the man she was dating, I need alone time, I need to maintain my friendships, I need to pursue my work without apologizing. And if that's too much, then this won't work. He didn't leave. He said, "Thank you for telling me what you actually need." This restructuring is brutal because it requires releasing every identity you've used for safety, approval, or love. Over the following months, Elisabeth rebuilt from foundation. Jung gave her a practice. For 1 month, make every small decision based on what you actually want, not what you think you should want, or what would please others. What do you want for breakfast? What music do you want to listen to? What do you want to wear? Elisabeth found this excruciating. I don't know what I want. I've never asked. Then discover it. Choose something. See if it feels right. Choose differently tomorrow. This is how you meet yourself. Patterns emerged. She actually liked mornings alone, preferred bold colors over neutral ones, enjoyed solitude more than constant social plans, wanted focused work time more than people-pleasing. These feel selfish. They feel unfamiliar. You're meeting the real Elisabeth. She's been buried under 38 years of performing what others wanted. Month 14. She started the business she'd dreamed about for years. Decisiveness integrated. She traveled alone to a place she'd always wanted to visit. Independence integrated. She spoke up in meetings without apologizing. Strength integrated. I feel like I'm becoming someone I don't recognize. You're becoming someone you've never been allowed to be. The woman who's both soft and strong, vulnerable and boundaried, accommodating when she chooses, assertive when needed. That's integration. Research on differentiation in relationships by Dr. David Schnarch shows that people who can maintain full self while in relationship report the highest satisfaction. But achieving differentiation requires this painful restructuring. Month 16. Elisabeth had become almost unrecognizable. Her mother. I don't know you anymore, Elisabeth. I'm learning to know myself. That's more important than you knowing me. Her friend. You've gotten so serious about your boundaries. Elisabeth. I'm not performing fun anymore. I'm being real. The man she was dating. I feel like I'm meeting the real you for the first time. Elisabeth. You are. I'm meeting her too. Jung observed her transformation. You've stopped performing lovability. You've started being yourself. This is the only foundation on which real love can build. False identities attract false relationships. You must restructure your entire self before true love becomes possible. If you're in the void between old identity and new self, comment, I'm restructuring. Because the restructuring creates the foundation, but the final phase reveals the paradox that makes love finally possible. What's month 18? Elisabeth's final session with Jung. I think I'm done searching for love. Not in a bitter way, not giving up. But I genuinely don't need it anymore. For 12 years, I've oriented my entire life around finding partnership. And now, I'm complete as I am. If love comes, wonderful. If not, I'm still whole. Jung leaned back with satisfaction. Now you're ready. This is the paradox phase, when you must release the very thing you've been seeking before you can receive it. Not through forced detachment or spiritual bypassing, but through genuine completion. Elisabeth had spent 12 years believing, I'll be complete when I find love. Jung's work revealed the truth. You'll find love when you're complete. The surrender isn't giving up on love. It's releasing love as the condition for wholeness. Before surrender, love is the missing piece. Partnership will complete you. Being chosen validates your worth. After surrender, you are already whole. Partnership is sharing wholeness. Your worth is inherent. Elisabeth's surrender manifested in practical ways. She stopped checking dating apps compulsively, not from hopelessness, but from genuine disinterest. I'm living my life. If someone fits, they'll fit. If not, I'm still living. She stopped analyzing every interaction. Is this going somewhere? Became irrelevant. She was present with what was, not obsessed with what might be. She stopped performing in the relationship. No more strategic texting, calculated responses, or managed image. This is who I am. If that works for you, great. If not, we're incompatible. She stopped making love the center of her life. Her work mattered. Her friendships mattered. Her creative pursuits mattered. Love would be one part of a full life, not the organizing principle. The man she'd been dating noticed immediately. Something shifted in you. You're more here, less anxious. I feel like I'm finally meeting you. Elisabeth realized, when I stopped needing him to complete me, I could actually see him, not as the savior or the disappointment, but as a person, and for the first time, I could let him see me. 3 months later, Elisabeth wrote Jung a letter. I'm writing to tell you I'm getting married. Not from need, not from fear of being alone, not from proving I was lovable, from choice. I chose him from wholeness, not from lack, and the relationship is unlike anything I imagined. There's no performance, no rescuing, no projecting. Just two complete people choosing to share lives. For 12 years, I tried to find love. What I needed was to find myself. And ironically, the moment I found myself, love found me. Because real love can only find real people, and I had to become real first. Thank you for showing me that I had to become whole before I could share wholeness. Jung documented Elisabeth's journey as proof of the 5 phases every person must complete before real love becomes possible. Phase 1. The breaking. Recognizing your false self can't sustain real love, so it must shatter. Phase 2. The mirror. Seeing that you've been projecting disowned parts onto others, mistaking projection for love. Phase 3. The resistance. Confronting the shadow that sabotages love to protect you from vulnerability. Phase 4. The restructuring. Dismantling false identities and building integrated, authentic self. Phase 5. The surrender. Releasing love as condition for completeness, becoming whole first. Most people never complete even one phase. They stay stuck in the breaking, blaming others for their loneliness. Or they recognize projection, but never integrate what they've projected. Or they understand their shadow, but won't do the terrifying work of staying when it screams to run. Some completed this work. Jung's own marriage transformed after his integration work. Both he and Emma became Jungian analysts, remained together until her death, both fully individuated. Some didn't. Plath chose intensity over integration. The relationship ended in tragedy. Monroe sought completion in men, died believing she was unlovable, despite being desired by millions. Some completed late. Nin eventually integrated both sides in her 60s, writing, I am both wild and domestic, and I no longer need to split them between different men. The difference isn't luck, it's work. If you're being broken by repeated heartbreak, you're in phase 1. The work. Stop performing readiness. Get real about who you actually are beneath the persona. If you keep choosing the same unavailable pattern, you're stuck in phase 2. The work. Identify what you're projecting. Integrate those qualities into yourself instead of seeking them in others. If you sabotage promising relationships, you're in phase 3. The work. Name your shadow's fears. Stay when every instinct screams to run. Prove your shadow wrong through embodied experience. If you don't know who you are anymore, you're in phase 4. The work. Rebuild from foundation. Discover authentic desires. Establish genuine boundaries. Integrate disowned parts. If you're complete as you are, you're in phase 5. The work. Live fully from this wholeness. Love becomes possibility, not necessity. Jung's final wisdom captured everything. You spent 12 years trying to find love. What you needed was to find yourself. And ironically, the moment you found yourself, love found you, because real love can only find real people, and you had to become real first. The universe breaks you to make you real. Breaks the false self so the true self can emerge. Breaks the performance so authenticity can breathe. Breaks the need so choice becomes possible. And when you're finally broken open, restructured, integrated, and complete, that's when love recognizes you. Not because you've earned it through suffering, but because you've become capable of receiving it without destroying it. If you're in this process, know you're not alone. Millions of souls are being broken and rebuilt right now. The pain isn't punishment. It's preparation for love you're finally ready to sustain. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to join others. Navigating Jung's integration work. Comment below which phase you're in. Your recognition helps others identify their own journey. And remember, the breaking isn't the end. It's the beginning of becoming who you were always meant to be. Whole, real, and finally ready for love that matches your truth. Thanks for watching. See you in the next dimension.